Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. It was a great day. The markets, obviously, the miners were up huge today. Bitcoin was up huge today. It went up to like 39,000 and came back down a little bit, but we'll take a look at all of that, plus a lot more stories. We do have some troubling news from Iris Energy. The founders, Daniel and Roberts, both sold about 1 million shares each. We'll take a look at that. And then we'll also take a look at Bitfarms. They provided their production update for November, which was really good, along with Cleanspark, which was really great. So, and then we'll talk about Cleanspark. Cleanspark went crazy, obviously, from yesterday's news on the financial results for 2023. Those weren't great. People were dumping on it. It went down like 50% after hours. And then today it went up like 22%. So we'll cover all that. We'll take a look at what's going on here. But as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I mean that. Please do your own research. And I'm investing in following coins and companies for full disclosure, so you guys are aware. And if you enjoyed this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely helps me out on the channel as well. So I do appreciate that. And thank you so much for coming in to watch this. So first, we're going to take a look at what's going on with the markets here as far as Bitcoin right now, Cleanspark, all that stuff, see what happened here today. But we can see here that Bitcoin reached a high today of 39,000 on it. You can barely see that right there. Let me pull that down a little bit. So it did reach 39,000, came back a little bit down, but it was up today nicely, about 2.57% on the day, which was nice to see. It's up a little bit now as well. We did close above the 38,000 mark, which is good. Right, so now that 38,000 mark is going to act as support instead of as resistance. So we got that going for us. We're in December as well, so a new month and everything else is looking good. Okay, going down here as far as the miners. I mean, the miners had a wild day today. I mean, Annie was up at one point like 60-70% on the day. Really no news out there for them. So that was kind of interesting to see. Maybe just people buying some bottom fishing on the miners here. But they definitely went up quite a bit. Argo was up 11%. Bit Digital was up 10%. BitDeer was up 11%. Bitfarms was up again like 16%. It's been having a great the last couple of days. It's been having great after announcing that they are buying miners to grow to 17 exahash. That has kind of spurred the stock to go up higher here. Cypher was up 6.14%. Cleanspark was up. You can see here where it kind of bottomed out in the morning at 573. And it finished up basically almost like $2 up higher on the day. And it was just crazy. Two things happened there. So obviously they provided pretty good results for November numbers. As far as revenue is concerned, Bitcoin mined and everything else, we'll take a look at that in the sheet here shortly. But the other thing that came out was JP Morgan raised their price targets to $9 for them from, I think it was from $8.50. So that was a positive thing for them. And that kind of just whatever news that was out yesterday as far as the bad news for their fiscal year 2023. This obviously just kind of swept that off the rug and bounced really hard today. So I was surprised by that. A lot of people were surprised by it as well. But it was great. So we'll take what we can get, right? Cores was up 14% today as well. DigiHost was up 13%. DMG was up 13%. Greenidge was up 11%, almost 12%. Hive was up 13%. HUD 8, almost 20% on the day as well. They reported yesterday that they have completed the merger with USBTC. That is going to take into effect, I believe, the 4th of December, which is going to be on Monday, I believe. So the new shares will be trading then. So that's kind of interesting there as well. We'll have to keep an eye on them. Iris Energy has been going up like bonkers here in the last, 6-7 trading days or so. It was at a low of 279. It's now at $5.57. So that one's been doing really good. But obviously, we got to talk about the story about the founders selling shares. We'll take a look at it here shortly. Marathon was up 14%. Mawson was up 32% on the day. Closed out that way. Haven't been able to find any news on that one as well. So like I said, it could be just some bottom fishing here going on. With all the miners going up, people are looking for the ones that are the most undervalued possibly. Riot was up 9.72%. Soluna was up 9%. Stronghold was up 23%. And Wolf was up 18% as well. So like I said, overall, a great day in the markets here that we've seen here. Okay, so we'll see how this goes going forward. Obviously, December is starting out to be a pretty good month for the miners. November was a good month as well. We were in the green for the most part on everybody here, I think. But we'll take a look at those numbers over the weekend here. And let's get into our first stories that we do have here, which is going to be on Iris Energy. So I thought this was interesting. And thank you to Crypto Klepto on Twitter for pointing this out. So without that, so here's the story. If I missed something and you guys find something that I missed that you think is important to talk about, let me know. Shoot me a tweet, put it down in the comments below or something like that in any of the videos. I'll check those things and I'll definitely talk about it. If it's definitely worthy to talk about, I'll talk about it. And it's just me that's doing this, right? I do this part-time when I have free time. So tracking 14, 15, whatever miners I have is not easy, trying to keep everything in line. So I might miss things from time to time. If you guys find something that's newsworthy, like I said, let me know. I'll definitely try to include it in the videos that I do. And this is definitely newsworthy here. So this was interesting, I thought. So this was filed today by Iris Energy. So Daniel Roberts is selling, it looks like 1 million shares here for gross proceeds of 4.9 million. And the interesting, the sale is obviously today, 12/1. But going down here, if we look a little bit further, it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I could be getting this completely mixed up here, but it looks like he was received directly from issuer as a founder share. So this was basically when they founded the company back in 2018. So that's, 5 years ago? And he received 5 million shares at that time for it. I don't know exactly how many shares he has right now, but he did receive 5 million shares at that point, and he's selling basically 20% of that that he received 5 years ago. So obviously it's not good as far as investors are concerned that you see the founder selling shares when the stock is going up, right? It doesn't bode well with the confidence that they might have in the stock going up even further. So that's a concern there. As you know, I've started kind of getting into Iris Energy and buying their shares here recently. So this is definitely concerning. I'll have to see how things go forward. Keep an eye on things. But he bought those, and the only way I can explain is he bought it back in 2018. So he's held on to those for 5 years potentially. So that's a pretty good long time. But nonetheless, like I said, it doesn't bode well. So I'm not too thrilled about this. We'll see how things go forward, like I said. And, it's going to be definitely good holidays for him and his family. Getting 4.9 million after taxes, he might be down to about 3 million something. So hope he uses it for good and spoils his family rotten with it. But that's Daniel Roberts here. And then we also have, oops, not that one, this one over here. This one is on, where am I missing? I'm missing one. I am missing somebody here. Who am I missing here? One of these I'm missing here. We got Daniel, and then we have also somebody else. Who's the other person that we have? William Roberts. Here we go. So William Roberts, same thing. He sold 1 million shares today as well. Those guys are brothers, as you know. So he got 5 million shares as well on, 2018, so 5 years ago as well. Received directly from the issuer as a founder shares. So when they founded the company, they got that many shares. He's selling 20% of it along with his brother right now. So like I said, that doesn't bode well with two people. Well, they're brothers, so they probably talk about this stuff all the time. And they figured, stock is up nicely, time to sell, time to take some profits off the table. But then we also have here on this one here, not that one, where did it go? Was it this one? This one. Gukovsky, Christopher. It looks like he is a officer, and he's selling 34,853 shares, and this was sold on 11/29, so a couple days before those guys sold. So this is remuneration for board membership. So he got that back last year, looks like, in 12/22/20 of 22. So he's held onto those for a year. Amount of securities acquired at that time, 34,853, and basically he sold everything. So that doesn't also stand well. Number of shares, other outstanding units, those are the total number of shares I think are outstanding. So you got somebody on the board selling. You got the 2 founders selling also. So that's not good. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see how it goes. Okay, but right now I'm just going to kind of evaluate to see how things are going with them, because I did want to buy more shares of them. But with them doing that kind of stuff, it makes you think, it makes you put a little pause on things. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys here. Okay, and let's get into our next story here, which is going to be on Bitfarms. Clean this up a little bit here as well. Okay, so Bitfarms earns 382 Bitcoin in November of this year, obviously. Here's the important parts of it. Mining review. So November production of 382 Bitcoin declined 1.5% from October as network difficulty increased 19% in November compared to 9.4% in October, reflecting the continuing strong demand for miners growing into the halving of 2024. For the 11 months ended November 30th, network difficulty increased 92.2%, while the BTC price was up approximately 128%, resulting in a 33.9% improvement in production economics as measured by USD per terahash per day. Okay, so that is true. The network hash rate has been going like crazy, but the thing that's driving it is the low cost of the miners, the speed of the miners themselves, right? I did a video on it just a couple of days ago where it was basically back in 2017. You needed like 74,000 plus miners of the S9 miners. Those were 13.3, 13.5 terahash miners. You need that many of those 74,000 plus miners to get to 1 exahash. Now, with the latest generation of the S21 miners, you only need 5,000 miners to get to 1 exahash. Huge difference, and also the price is up a little bit from where it was back then, right? They were about $2,800. Right now, back then, they were about $1,500 or so. So you can definitely spend a lot less to get 1 exahash than you did in the past, and that's what's driving the network hash rate up. Okay, but here's the production update. So 392 BTC earned. Month-end operating hash rate was 6.4. That's an increase a little bit here from the 6.3 that we had, and then BTC sold was 350, and they do hodl a little bit here as well. The hodl increased as well. Going down here it is. Added 42 BTC to treasury, increasing hodl to 802, representing approximately 30.3 million based on BTC price of 37,800 at November 30th, which was yesterday. They also reduced their total outstanding indebtedness by 1.9 million, resulting in a remaining balance of 6 million at November 30th. So that's also good. So they reduced their debt here. Okay, so that's great. Now let's take a look at Bitfarms here right now. So Bitfarms closed the day at $1.66. Shares outstanding is 322 million based on the 444,446 shares that they basically diluted to get the orders for the machines to reach 17 exahash. They're currently valued at 534 million as it is. Now you can see here that their performance has been lackluster here in the last 12 weeks. We don't have the latest weekly numbers for this week. We'll do that over the weekend here, probably on Sunday. So we'll look at that as well. But it's going to be a huge increase for them. Obviously, this past week, they're up like 50% or something like that, just on a week alone. And we have the current hash rate at 6.4. Future hash rate is going to be 12. These are the ones that they bought. They have an option to buy additional miners to get to the 17 exahash. So this is what we're including here right now. Okay. And then as far as BTC production here, you can see it's kind of been, I mean, their best month was obviously last year in December, 496 Bitcoin. And ever since then, the network hash rate has been increasing quite dramatically here. And we're seeing that the production here has been coming down, which is normal because they're not keeping up with the network hash rate increase. But once they start getting to the 12 exahash by the end of the first half of 2024, that should improve. Along with them getting to 17 exahash, that should improve as well going forward. But BTC production is going to be cut in half anyways because we have the halving event coming up in April of 2024. Okay, so BTC hodl is at 802. That's at 29 million right now, roughly. And what else do we have here? You can see the month-over-month BTC difference, BTC per exahash difference as well. BTC per exahash, not difference, but their efficiency basically. It's come down to 61. And that's kind of expected to see the numbers going down as the network hash rate increases, right? We're seeing that across the board for all the miners. BTC hodl has been growing also, which is nice to see. BTC sold, they've been selling between 300 some and 400 some on a monthly basis here. So that's fine there. They're adding to the hodl, which is good. Hash rate has been increasing here, as you can see, pretty consistently here, pretty much month over month. We've had a couple months where it was kind of flat here in January, February, April, May, June, July. But overall, it seems like they're increasing hash rate nonetheless. So that is good. Revenue also. Revenue is the best that they've had here in the last 12 months. Last November, they were at 7.97 million. This month, they're at 14.3 million. So that's good. They're above their average, which is nice to see. Then you can see the hash rate difference here from month to month, how much they're installing. BTC sold value, how much they sold compared to what the revenue was. So that's all looking good there. We discussed their quarterly results here when they provided those. We'll get into these numbers here in a second. Institutions and analyst ratings increased quite nicely here to 133. Shares also increased here to 52 million shares owned by institutions, and that's 18.74% of the total shares outstanding. We still have 2 buy ratings on them. 0 holds, 0 underperforms, 0 sells. Price target still $4. Well, price target actually went up to 4 from 3. Average stayed the same at 3. Low actually went down to 2 from the 3. So we're still looking good, like the higher price target, which is kind of in line with, we'll get into this, but kind of what I have been at. Okay, based on what they mined, 382 Bitcoin at an average Bitcoin price for November, I have them at 14.3 million in revenue. Okay, and that represents, 14.3 million. And then also on the numbers here, the miners here, as far as what was installed here. For November, we installed an additional roughly 120 petahash or so on it with these miners here, the 105 terahash miners. That got us to, well, here's the thing. I had to include BTC fees in this because just by the numbers that I have here running for 30 days, they were at 14, well, less than that. They were at 13 something. So I had to include 624,000 of BTC fees, which we're seeing a lot of the miners get, obviously, included in this in order for the numbers to work. So they came in at 14.33 in revenue. The miners that were installed in November were only operating on average of around 20 days. I don't know exactly. That's kind of what I use usually when new miners are installed, is around 20 days because it takes time to get those things installed and everything else. You don't get everything installed on the very first day usually. But that's kind of how it worked out. So that's looking good there. And looking up here, based on the numbers that we do have here right now on the last 3 quarters, which are actual results, the current quarter that we're in, they're going to be at 39 million roughly. So that is going to be an increase from the prior quarter, which is good to see. And with a P of 20, 50% net income, we're looking at $4.35 per share to $6.52 per share. And then if we look forward in the next 12 months, so basically the 4 months that we have left before the halving event, which is going to happen in April sometime. So we got December, January, February, March, which is 4 months, basically. Those are, that's calculated at mining at 100% of revenue, basically, and then the 8 months after that at 50%. With that in mind, we have it at $3.56 to $5.34. That coincides with what the analysts also have them at right now. But things could change on here. Bitcoin price could go up higher. At that point, their revenue for the future revenue could go up. But we also obviously have the halving event, which this kind of takes into effect as well. All right, so it just all really depends on where the Bitcoin network hash rate goes and where the Bitcoin price also goes. Okay, so that's it. I think that's pretty good numbers here for them. Nice seeing that they reached a new high here in the last 12 months, which is nice. Revenue continues to go up. Bitcoin production continues to come down a little bit here, but it's still not bad. But BTC HODL is increasing, so that's good. Hash rate's increasing, that's also good. And they're going to be growing, so that's good. Okay, let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this. And let's get into the next one here. So the next one's going to be on Cleanspark. Cleanspark releases November 2023 Bitcoin mining update. Here's what we have. This is going to be pretty quick. This is a quote from Zach Bradford. "We achieved our second highest monthly Bitcoin production despite increased difficulty and without using more energy," said Zach Bradford, CEO. "Our efficiency improved, dropping to 26.4 joules per terahash, so that's good. We also saw a significant increase in production from fees, likely due to the growing interest in ordinals. This trend suggests that fees might soon become a larger source of revenue as Bitcoin use cases grow and adoption increases." Right? Especially this year, we're seeing a lot more in the fees from ordinals or whatever else. If there's other use cases that happen to come up later on in the next year or two, that may offset some of the 50% loss they might have, not just Cleanspark, but all the miners, right? We're seeing that sometimes we're adding like 1 Bitcoin more of fees, if not more than that, per day. So that's definitely a lot, or per transaction, actually. So that all adds up, right? Eventually, we know that Bitcoin network hash rate is going to continue to go up. The block rewards are going to continue to go down as well. At some point, you're going to have to basically live off the fees that are generated on the network in order for the miners to survive and secure the network going forward, right? The thought behind that was it wasn't going to be until maybe 20, 30 years down the road, whatever the case might be. But it seems like it's going to be happening a little bit faster. So the more use cases that we can build around Bitcoin, whether it's contracts, things like that they can put on here. Obviously, we're putting ordinals on there right now, but the better it is going to be for the miners going forward, right? It's going to make them more profitable. So that's just my take on that. November Bitcoin mining update here. This is on unaudited. Bitcoin mined in November was 666, mark of the beast. I'm not going to get into that. Total BTC holdings of November 30th, 2,575. Current hash rate of 10.8, so that's a slight increase of where they were. I think they were at 10 exahash exactly, close to that. So I updated those numbers for us. They did sell 402 Bitcoin this month, but they also added to their huddle. We'll see how much they added to that as well. And then you guys can read the rest of the stuff here. There's not much left in there. Everything on Sandersville seems to be on track. No serious delays have been reported on site. Construction remains on track for the expected year-end completion. So that's all good there. Okay, let's take a look at the numbers that I have for Cleanspark right now. Cleanspark has 184 million shares outstanding as of the latest numbers that we received yesterday from their fiscal year report. They finished out the day at $7.64. Like I said, it was a wild day for their price action. Bitcoin, their price was down 15% in the beginning of the day. markets went live, and then their price just kind of went up because of JP Morgan Chase raising their targets on them to $9. That helped boost the stock up as well. And the market cap now is at 1.4 billion. And then you can see here their performance here over the last 12 weeks has been pretty good. Up 26% from 12 weeks ago, up 48% from 8 weeks ago, up 25% from 4 weeks ago, and up 41% from last week. This week they're going to be up even more, possibly from what they were last week. So we'll see how those stack up later on this weekend when we do the numbers on that. Current hash rate is at 10 exahash. Future hash is supposed to be 20 exahash. A lot of growth still left in them, right? BTC production here, or HODL, 2,575 Bitcoin HODLed, right, is at 94,000 or 94 million valued at that. That's based on Bitcoin's average price here still for November. So that should get updated to 29,000 or close to that today. So we'll see those numbers later on. Bitcoin production here has been right above the, well, kind of bouncing up and down here depending on the month here. And depending on the network hash rate growth and everything else. So overall, they're still above their average of 590 per month. And they've been above that average, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at least half of the time they've been above their average, which is good. Month over month difference, BTC mined here. Nice increase here in 33. BTC HODL has been increasing, which is also good to see. As we get into the halving event, Bitcoin is going to grow in value more. That HODL position is going to be obviously helpful going forward, where they can sell that into the bull market, get cash for it, HODL the cash, whatever they want to do with the cash, and then possibly build out going into the bear market again next cycle. Okay, BTC per exahash efficiency, 66.1, which is pretty good, and that's based on the increase. You normally would see a decrease on here, but because of the transaction fees, those have added to their efficiency, basically. Okay, so 66 is definitely on the higher end here for right now. BTC sold, you can see that they sold 402. And then current hash rate has increased as well. Monthly revenue is their best here in the last 12 months, 24.3 million in revenue based on the average Bitcoin price here in November. Their average is about 15.4, so almost 9 million higher than their average, which is really good. So that's possibly why the stock also went up. Hash rate growth, you can see that we added about 77 petahash here in November. Bitcoin sold value, they've been selling a little bit more here recently in October and November, 14.7 million in November, 16.6 in October. Prior to that, for 3 months, they were trying to HODL as much as they can, which was nice to get that increase in HODL before the halving event. Quarterly results, we talked about those obviously in yesterday's video. Some things were good, some things were bad. Bad things were obviously the compensation for the employees, bonuses, things like that. That dragged things down quite a bit, so it wasn't good for the Q4 numbers. We'll get into these numbers here in a second. Institutions and analyst ratings right now increased to 229 from 206, so that's good there. Shares increased quite a bit here to 71 million shares, so that's now owned by institutions of 46.6%. We did get an increase in strong buy to 2 now from 1, which is good, and then the buy rating stayed the same at 4. 0 hold, 0 underperform, 0 sell ratings. Price targets stayed the same for the high, $14. Average came down to 9.97 from 10.10, and the low stayed the same at 5.3. So those all stay the same here. And then when we look at their actual production numbers here, I added for November here, these miners here, the 140, so these are the XPs. We added 550 of those to get about 77 petahash installed to get us to the 10.08 exahash that they reported. Even with those running for about 20 days on average, I still had to add about 2.7 million in transaction fees to get to that number, to the 24.3 million in revenue for them. Okay, so definitely got a lot of transaction fees from that. That was helpful to them. And given that they were running on 30 days the whole time, right? Same thing as Bitfarms, right? If Bitfarms wasn't running for maybe the full 30 days, they were down a little bit here. That might be the reason why their BTC fees numbers was down a little bit more, but that's the only thing I can come up with here, okay? Now, going back over here, we can see that looking at the last 3 quarters, the current quarter that we're in, the current quarter looks like it's going to be about 64 million in revenue, which is definitely going to be a nice increase here from where they were in Q4, Q3. So the revenue continues to grow as Bitcoin continues to go up, which is nice to see. And then we're looking at 50% net income, P of 20. We're looking at $11.11 and 75% net income, P of 20. So we usually get there when Bitcoin is really doing well and miners get a much better margin, profit margin on it. We're looking at $16.66. Currently they're at $7.64. I say they're undervalued. And if we look towards the future, the 4 months before the halving event at 100% and the 8 months after the halving event at 50%, I got $10.55 to $15.82. But like I said, it depends where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes up higher. That's definitely going to change going forward. Network hash was continuing to grow, I'm guessing. It's just gone parabolic on us, which is crazy. But it's kind of the world that we live in with this, so we'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything else. Other than that, I will just say this. Great numbers for November. We'll have to see how, obviously, the transaction fees continue going forward in December, right? Will those continue to be pretty high like they were in November? Will they go down? Will they maybe increase even more? So there's a lot of stuff that's fluid with these miners. You got the price of Bitcoin, you got the price of electricity, you got the network hash rate, you got all these things to consider that go into seeing if a miner is profitable or not. But we'll see. Right now, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, definitely a great job here so far. Let me know what you guys think of both of those, obviously, in the comments down below. And we'll see how things go forward, okay? Always. The spreadsheet is going to be available to my Patreon members here. That's still $5 or $4 if somebody leaves the $4 membership. There's an opening, might be opening there. It's 10% off if you do a full year on that, so you save a little money there as well. And yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. So I do appreciate you guys watching very much. I know you guys have a lot of things going on, like everybody else. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. All right, we'll do a video probably on Sunday. I got a wedding to go to tomorrow, so I'm going to be busy all day there. And then we'll try to catch up on things on Sunday, see what happened this past week with the miners and Bitcoin and everything else. All right, so I'm going to ramble on. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend. Bye.